Real rivalry. Ahmad, welcome back. So this weekend we had Leicester City take on Manchester United. One of the worst games I've ever watched. Did you get a chance to watch it?
What a game! I mean, I wanted to get out and slate all my friends who are United fans, but then I just thought I'd wait till Monday night till the Arsenal game. But oh my God, man, United looked like they were all over the place. I mean, just like we've been saying, like I mean, it's just United just rely on moments. I mean, you guys just did not look like you were in control of that game at any point. Like I mean, you're just relying on flashes of individual brilliance to get to keep you in the game by like I mean, you saw that Greenwood cracker. I mean, you've been relying on him quite a bit, and I think like your luck just kind of ran out. Like because Leicester were like really pushing for it, and you guys just could not hold out at the end of it. What did you make of it?
So, specifically, like talking about the game itself, right? Like everyone calls us Moments FC for a reason, right? Where like we're just relying on moments, like you mentioned. Now, if you just look at it tactically, right, we're supposed to be playing like a 4-2-3-1, but we essentially play a 4-2-4. There's such a huge gap between our forward line and our defense that it's ridiculous. Like, so what happens is against Leicester also the same thing happened. Our forward line will press somewhat, but not together. So you have a front row pressing. So you have Bruno Fernandes and Ronaldo will like half press. Then you have Greenwood from the right pressing. You have Sancho from the left pressing, but they won't go together necessarily. Bruno just runs all over the place. It's like he's got a free roll. Then Matic and Pogba may press, right? One of them and not consistently, but our back four isn't exactly pressing. So what happens is you've got like six players pressing, but your back four isn't. So a established team like Leicester, a pretty good team in the past, right? They can pass the ball well. They have a good midfield. How easy is it for 8, 10 players to pass through six players that are pressing? Very, very easy. Did you see us win the ball back with our press ever? No, I don't even think once we won the ball back. So we're very easy to play against. And this is what's been happening in a lot of our fixtures this season. We're trying to play a more expansive style of play, but that doesn't mean you just leave your front four or front six ahead of you, and then the back line is still sitting back in case you beat the press. Like you see how City press, right? They're compact. All 10 outfield players will press. Same thing
Yeah,
goes.
pressing as a unit. I mean, you
Yeah,
guys are all moving up the pitch together, and you're moving back to they're moving back the pitch together. So I mean, it makes no sense to. I mean, also, I mean, just looking at it on paper, I mean, from the outside, you cannot be playing Bruno Fernandes, Paul Pogba, Mason Greenwood, um, or Cristiano Ronaldo, and who else was starting? I think it
and
was
Sancho on the left. Sancho on the left.
and Sancho. That's five players who are going to give you nothing defensively. That's five players who are going to give you absolutely nothing defensively. And when I say nothing, they're not even likely to track back and like I mean you're not going to expect Ronaldo to do the pressing obviously, but
Right,
I mean you can't have five passengers in terms of when you guys don't have the ball. You can't have five players who aren't interested in defending. I mean,
right.
like I mean Gary Neville pointed it out I think in one of his podcasts. So I think it was on Monday Night Football. I don't remember when. That like I mean look at the United teams that were successful under Fergie as well. I mean they didn't have half as many superstars. They had a front three of like Ronaldo, Tevez, and Rooney. And if you look at Tevez and Rooney, I mean, they were willing to play out of position every single time
Work
to
hard. Yeah.
sacrifice themselves for the team. And you had players like Ji Sung Park, like Anderson, like Carrick, who are technically not great players, but they just will put a shift in every single week. And I mean, you need players like that for players like Ronaldo and for your
Right.
Sanchos and for your Greenwoods to go out there and do their thing. Otherwise, I mean, you're not going to be scoring 4 or 5 goals every game to win. I mean, it's just not going to happen. You cannot be outscoring your opponents. I mean, you have to be more reliant on keeping clean sheets and having that foundation from the back before you. And I mean, it just doesn't seem like you guys. Obviously, he doesn't have the personnel because Matic. I mean, he's washed up anyway. I mean, obviously, but
Yeah.
why did Oli not strengthen in that position then over the
Exactly.
summer?
So first of all, you spent all this money. You bought a winger for 74 million, right? You bought a right winger for 74 million, who you've been playing out of position on the left wing to accommodate Greenwood. But
Yeah,
Greenwood's been very
and you
good
don't
form.
want
And you should have bought a
exactly. Yeah,
defensive midfielder. But I think it's about time that we stopped blaming personnel now, because we've spent more than 400, 500 million, right? Like each player in our, that's what uh, Carragher argues back with Gary Neville on, that each player in every position at United is worth 30, 40 million. Like if you count two players like Luke Shaw and Telles combined are worth 60 million. Harry Maguire,
and Luke Shaw.
Bernard,
Yeah, you paid 30 million for him
Lindelof,
about
50,
6, 7 years ago.
Van Bissaka, like if we have a stacked team, just because you're missing a perfectionist defensive midfielder, that does not mean that you can't defend as a team properly. I'm saying this is basic tactical problems and it has nothing to do with
I
personnel.
mean, you
I
say it's a
agree.
stacked team, and I mean, you say it's a stacked team, and you guys have all these players. But I mean, don't you think you've overpaid for these players? I mean, like
That's a different argument, right? Like I mean, we can argue whether
it's not
we
a different argument because you guys have fucked up the market for everyone else, and you fucking
I
having to pay 50
I
million
don't
for
even
Ben White because of
because of United. I think City and Chelsea have also fucked up the market as much as us. But
yeah. I
anyway,
mean, yeah,
forget
and of
about the
course,
payments, right? Let's just go back to our current issues. So, okay, maybe against Leicester, we had too many attacking players, but still, there's no excuse for having your front five pressing and your back line chilling at the back. Either you all press or you all step back, right? So that's the first thing. I think our tactics are woeful. And as far as personnel are concerned, against Aston Villa, we had Fred and McTominay in midfield. Both are completely defensive minded. They're not specialist holding midfielders, but they are defensively minded, right? We had Pogba on the left, we had Ronaldo up top, and we had Greenwood on the right. So that's not that attacking a lineup. And we were terrible. We were poor defensively. We were poor going forward. So I really don't think it's about the personnel. We've tried all midfield combinations.
yeah.
We've
I mean, the solution isn't to like. I mean, the solution isn't playing Matic and Pogba or playing Fred and Matic or playing Fred and McTominay or trying to balance it out with two holding midfielders and four attacking players. I feel like just the style of play right now is just
is
so
wrong.
disjointed and yeah, and like you guys don't attack. Like I said, you guys don't attack as a unit. I mean, you don't see your fullbacks constantly involved in play. I mean, it's a
Right.
very like your attackers are attacking on their own and your defenders are defending on their
On
own.
their
It's not
own.
like it's
Exactly.
very similar to what's happening at Arsenal right now. I mean, it's completely different if you look at it like on the inside, but in a nutshell, it's very similar.
I think it boils down to the manager. I think what's happened is now that we have all these attacking players, how was Ollie successful so far, right? Fundamentally, what has Ollie's United been very good at? We are very good at hitting teams on the break. That's been our strength. We counter, he always says it. We want to counter attack at pace. We want to be direct. We want to get the ball to our forward line as quickly as possible. So because we haven't had the players 2 years ago and we had a pretty good team last year, a lot of the times we would defend, right? We would soak up pressure and we'd hit you on the break with the pace of Rashford, Greenwood, Dan James, Martial, so on and so forth. Now, what's happened this season, we're being asked to play a more expansive style of football because we have all these attacking players who he's trying to accommodate in this team. He needs to transition to a more attacking style. Like there were rumors this summer that he's going to switch to a more attacking 4-3-3, and that's where his ineptitude tactically is coming out now. He's not capable. He doesn't know what to do now. He's not capable of playing a possession based, you know,
Yeah,
high
where
intensity
you control your opponents for the majority of the game, where you
like
have
Liverpool do,
constant
like
like
City do.
possession. Yeah,
Yeah.
where you lose the ball and you win it back immediately. I mean, yeah, you can't do that. I mean, it's very similar. Like I said, it's very similar to Arsenal. I mean, you're having spells in the game for too long where you're under pressure and
Right.
where the and you don't see United having those spells where they're doing that to the opposition for long enough. So it's really
No,
worrying. I mean, from your perspective, I'm sure it's worrying. I mean, from an Arsenal perspective, it's ridiculously worrying because I mean, these are two teams who we're used to seeing playing on the front foot at all times, and it's like we're
right.
completely moving away from the way we used to play, and we're accepting this new style of play, and we're accepting the mediocrity that's being brought in by the
No,
managers. And
I'm not accepting it, man. I'm not at all. Like for me, it's clear now. Like
I mean,
after
I'm not
the
talking about us. I'm talking about our boards. I mean,
yeah,
it's literally like they're always like on the verge of being sacked, and then they get like a last minute goal or something, and, saves their job for another couple of weeks, which is kind of like halting the overall progression of the club.
100% it is. And like our board, both our owners and our board, like they're a big concern, right? They don't really want to win trophies. They just want to make money. And it shows on the pitch. If Oli was manager of Chelsea or City or any other top club, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, he would have been gone a long time ago. But see, I agree with them giving him this season because he did finish third in his first full season. He did finish second last season. And I know we failed in the Europa League and in the
Yeah, I mean
final.
there is progression. I mean there is progression. You don't want to be knee jerk like the way you were with LBG and the way you were with I mean Moyes, whatever. I mean you want to just give your manager like more time this time around and see how the process works. Because you don't want to get become that club that's just changing managers every year. You want some kind of longevity. But I mean now I guess there's no excuses, right? I mean there's no it's not like anything like you're working towards the future. I guess United fans want success and they want it like right now
We
because
have the squad to do it. I think our team, if Pep was the manager, and you mentioned again personnel, right? Look at how Pep plays. He has one holding midfielder. He has two number 10s playing in central midfield. Always since his day one, he's played like that, and he has three attacking players on top of that. He
yeah, I
plays
mean,
with
I feel
five
like
attacking players.
he's got. I mean, if you look at his defense, they are. I mean, on the ball, his defensive players are far better than what United
Then
have.
ours.
That's where his attack start is from the back. And United, like you can't see Wan-Bissaka, Harry Maguire. They never look comfortable in possession.
So Van Bissaka, I agree with you, but Harry Maguire is very comfortable in possession for
I mean,
England.
but I'm talking about
Luke
like
Shaw is good on the ball. Varane is
comparing
Varane is
him to like a
unbelievable on the ball.
Cancelo,
Yeah,
comparing him to
I
like a
mean,
Cancelo or like to like a Ruben Diaz or like a Laporte or like a Stones. I mean,
yeah, maybe Maguire is not at
Maguire
that
doesn't
level.
have to do that for England because he has Stones next to him who does it for him. So
Varane
uh,
can do it. I think it's tactical again. I
and
think
also, I
like
mean, but England play a completely different way from
different way,
City, right? You
right?
can't compare. I mean, England are like not really playing out from the back as much as you see City do. So,
I think like it
but
boils
anyway,
down to the manager for me, man. Like I think City play the way they do because of Pep. Like even when they had Otamendi at the back, they still had excellent build-up play
no, but
from
of course, but not every managers. I mean, like you
like
have to
that,
look at
right?
like I mean the levels. I mean, you have to like I mean, realistically, if you replace Oli, I mean, you're not going to get someone. I mean, you could get someone of Pep's caliber, like a Conte or someone. But
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, like we are saying, like another manager would get a lot more out of these
More out of this
players.
team. Like I'm not really talking about like I'm not really the reason I brought up the Pep comparison, like because I want to go back and like stress on the fact that I don't think it's anything to do with the players. You could give us prime Conte, right, as a defensive midfielder, but if you're pressing the
Hmm.
way United press, you're still gonna concede goals because you're not playing as a team. This is not an individual game. It's how you play as a team, how you attack as a team, how you defend as a team. What are the patterns of play? We have none of that. Ollie's tactics are pretty straightforward. He wants to play a very direct style of play, get the ball to the forward line as quickly as possible, and then hope one of your world class players can dig you out of trouble. That's how we came second last year. That's all we did. There was no real. It wasn't like last year we were controlling games. How many games did we fall behind and then Cavani scored a goal after he came on, or Pogba scored a screamer, or Bruno scored a screamer, and we won 2-1 or 3-2. We haven't been winning. The only team we beat comprehensively each season is Leeds. And it's obvious why we can do that because they just come at us, and their style of play is completely, it suits the way we play. If you attack us full tilt, that suits us
Yeah.
completely. So essentially, long story short, I think we had to give him this season. From what I'm seeing so far, I don't think he's good enough to manage this squad, and I don't think he's capable of changing his tactics enough or learning enough to actually make the best out of this team. Get the best out of this team. I say we watch what happens against Atlanta. I have really fear we're gonna be out of the Champions League very soon, in my opinion. And I think Liverpool will beat us on the weekend. I think Liverpool will beat us on the weekend. I think he
I
has
mean,
to
yeah,
go.
but these are the games. I mean, these are the games where Oli kind of like when he's hanging by a thread, he kind of like pulls
That's
out a
what's
result. So
happened.
I feel like you guys will probably. I honestly think you guys will either get 3 points against Atlanta or Liverpool. I think there's definitely in this run coming up for United. I see like a couple of poor performances when I see a couple of good performances. I mean, just typical United. You don't know what you're gonna get. Like a
Right.
couple of games, I feel like your attacking players will bail you out. In a couple of games, I feel like you guys will just be so disjointed and not play as a team that you just get played right
You'll
through.
drop points. Right.
Yeah,
I
so it's just you just don't know what you're gonna get with United right now. So
That's the frustration for of us fans, right? Like because then he stays in the job when that keeps happening and you're in mediocrity. Like already, like Gary Neville said that a top four finish with an FA Cup is good enough. How is that good enough? With this squad, it's not good enough. Last season, we were saying a top four finish with either Europa League or an FA Cup was good enough because he was in like his second full season. This year, in October, we're out of the title race. October 19th,
yeah,
done.
I mean you're not
We're out.
technically out of the title race.
We
Is like
are
five, six
the
points. I mean,
way the other teams play. We're just too far behind, dude. You
yeah,
just
I mean obviously like by that logic, I'm saying
yeah.
mathematically, obviously like as long as there's a couple of points in it, you just see that glimmer of hope. But yeah, I mean seeing the way Liverpool and City have started, I mean
Even
they've looked
Chelsea,
like
right? Like they will keep up. I think Liverpool and City are a little
Yeah,
better still.
Chelsea will know how to grind out results way better than United, way better
Yeah,
than Spurs. So they'll know how to defend, and the basis of everything. And they'll have somewhat of a game plan going forward because Tuchel will implement that, and I think they'll all be fine. Obviously, it's the other teams we need to worry about.
yeah. So anyway, man, I think like a couple of big games ahead of us this week, and I think it's make or break for Manchester United and Ollie, and I just hope that we're able to get through the next few weeks with some positive results, because otherwise this season's going to be over before we know it. The last thing you want to see is Varane and Ronaldo coming out to the Europa League music. Just imagine that. I can't even imagine it. Like, so I think we have some big games coming up.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I'm hoping that Oli stays in for as long as possible.
I think that's all rival fans, and that just says the state of our club.
Yeah,
Anyways, man, we'll touch base again this weekend after the weekend game, the big one, United Liverpool. All right,
yeah, for sure.
have a good one.